In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. My dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Husnain Ali. I am from the Department of BS Biotechnology, Batch 14, and today I am presenting the topic of naloxone. Here are the table of contents of my presentation. First of all, we will talk about naloxone. What is naloxone? Naloxone is a medicine that rapidly reverses an opioid overdose. Op- it acts as an opioid antagonist. This means that it attaches to the opioid receptor in brain or other parts of the body and blocks the effect of opioid. What are opioids? Opioids are those drugs which seduces brain and calms anxiety, and it is a type of addiction for its consumers. Example of opioids include heroin, fentanyl, oxycodone, hydrocodone, codeine, and morphine. There are also indication that it may have some utility in the treatment of certain type of narcotic depressions. Naloxone can quickly restore normal breathing to a person if their bleeding has slowed or stopped because of opioid overdose. But naloxone is not a permanent treatment, so it uh, now we will discuss some signs and symptoms of opioid overdose. First of all, unconsciousness. The person feel unconscious and it do not know what he is doing or what is happening around his surroundings. Very small pupils. The pupils of his eye become very small, and the other symptoms is slow or shallow breathing. The person feel very uncomfortable in breathing, and it requires an naloxone to overcome his depression. Vomiting and inability to speak, faint heartbeat, limp arms and legs, pale skin, purple lips, and fingernails. Now moving towards the delivery methods of giving naloxone. Naloxone. Now moving towards the naloxone giving method. Naloxone should be given to any person who shows signs of an opioid overdose. It can be indicated by the symptoms mentioned in the previous slide or when an overdose is suspected. Naloxone can be given in two ways. First of all, through nasal spray, or it can be injected in the patient's body. Steps for responding to an opioid overdose can be found in substance abuse and mental health administration, abbreviated as SAMHSA, Opioid Overdose Prevention Toolkit. Now moving towards continuing our topic of naloxone release system. Naloxone comes in two FDA approved forms, injectable and pre-packed nasal spray. You should also read the product instruction and check the expiration date. The injectable brands of naloxone are offered by different companies listed in FDA booklet. Typically, the proper dose must be drawn from a vial. Usually, it is injected with a needle into muscle so it can spread all over the body and seduce the receptors of an opioid, which calms the patient. The other, the other method includes nasal spray. It is developed as a result of NIDA-funded research. It is an FDA-approved pre-filled needle-free device that requires no assembly and is sprayed directly into one nostril and the person lays on his back. This device can be easier for loved one and without forming training to use. All systems used by first responders deliver the stated dose of naloxone. Study findings released in March 2019 that suggested FDA-approved naloxone devices deliver high blood level of naloxone than the improvised nasal devices. We will now understand the difference between drug tolerance, drug dependence, and drug addiction. Drug tolerance. Long-term use of prescription opioids, even prescribed by doctor, can cause some people to develop a tolerance, which means that they need higher and more frequent doses to drug to get desired effect. It says that a person become an opioid tolerant when a doctor prescribe a drug to him and he become used to it, and he do not feel well without taking that drug. Moving toward drug dependence. Drug dependence occurs when repeated use causing the neurons to adapt so they only function normally in the presence of the drug. The absence of the drug causes several physiological reactions ranging from mild in case of caffeine to potentially life-threatening such as heroin. Some chronic pain patients are dependent on opioids and require medical support to stop taking the drug. Drug dependence is treated usually with psychological consultancy. The doctor advise the patient to set his routine and avoid the drug as much as possible. Drug addiction. Drug addiction is a chronic disease characterized by compulsive or uncontrollable drug seeking and use despite harmful consequences and long lasting changes in the brain. The change can result in harmful behavior by those who misuse drugs, whether prescription or illicit drugs. Drug addiction is the most severe form of drug intaking. The patient become mad when drug is not available to him and he start behaving abnormal due to unavailability of drugs. Now we will discuss the mechanism of action of naloxone. Naloxone is a pure competitive opioid antagonist with high affinity for the opioid receptor. It allows the reversal of an opioid overdose. The onset of action varies depending upon the route of administration, but can be as fast as 1 minute when delivered intravenous or intraosseous. Its half-life is 30 to 120 minutes depending upon the route of administration, with intravenous being the fastest. In most cases of overdose, the reversal is observable in a matter of minutes. If no sign of reversal are apparent after administration of 10 mg of naloxone, one must consider co-injections like tricyclic antidepressants, alcohol, benzodiazepines, cocaine, methamphetamine, and club drugs. Uh, Naloxone acts directly on nervous system and reverses opioid overdose. That's why it is better to use intravenous method for treatment of opioid overdose. This is the structure of naloxone. Naloxone is formed by the direct combination of reaction of carbon with hydrogen chloride in almost equal amount in the presence of nitrogen. It is a long chain structure and involves too many molecules of carbon to make one molecule of naloxone. Now we will discuss therapeutic uses of naloxone. Naloxone is primarily used for its therapeutic effects in the management of an opioid overdose and opioid-induced respiratory depression. Its main purpose is to rapidly reverse the effects of opioids and restore normal respiration. The primary therapeutic uses of naloxone includes opioid overdose reversal. Opioid overdose reversal is the basic function of naloxone. Naloxone is the standard treatment for reversing opioid overdose. It can quickly counterattack the life-threatening respiratory depression caused by opioid drugs and potentially save lives. Naloxone can be used in emergency situations when an doctor's availability is not accessible